The Dominion capital braced itself, but even their greatest defenses could not stem the tide. Humanity did not simply break their fleets, they shattered their empire. World by world, Dominion strongholds fell. Orbital rings collapsed into fire. Armories were turned to ash before they could deploy. Cities were leveled not with precision strikes but with overwhelming waves that rolled like judgment. The Veer screamed to the galaxy for aid. None came. No empire dared step between Earth and its vengeance. They had seen the silence turn to fury. They understood. For every broadcast that once mocked humanity, Earth answered with fire. For every laugh at their envoy's death, Earth answered with silence broken by annihilation. On the Dominion capital itself, the skies tore apart. 1,000 Terran ships descended, blotting out the sun. The planet shook under orbital bombardment. The palace where the envoy was executed was the first to vanish, erased in a blinding wave of light. The regent who had ordered his death never even saw the strike that ended her. The aftermath of silence. And then it ended. Where once the Dominion had stretched across a dozen sectors, there was only ruin. Their fleets were cinders, their palaces dust, their proud voices silenced. Humanity withdrew as suddenly as they had come. They did not claim the worlds they burned. They did not expand their empire. They left the ashes behind, their vengeance complete. The galaxy whispered in awe and terror. Never provoke Earth again. The words became law in unspoken treaties. No envoy of humanity was ever threatened again. No colony of theirs was mocked. No fleet lightly challenged. For the galaxy had learned a truth older than the stars. Humanity's patience is vast, but their vengeance is infinite. And all of it began with one life taken. It began with laughter. The Vrask Imperium thought themselves untouchable. A predator race of scaled warlords, they ruled their quadrant through terror, raiding smaller species for tribute and slaves. When their eyes turned toward humanity, they did not come with negotiations, nor warnings, nor even the courtesy of declaring war. They came for spectacle. At the council hall of Varen Prime, a neutral world where diplomats gathered to prevent bloodshed, the Vrask arrived cloaked in false civility. They let the humans speak. They let Earth's ambassador step forward, a man named Elias Kale, who carried not weapons but words of peace. And then, with the galaxy watching, they killed him. No trial, no reason, no hesitation. The Vrask commander slit the ambassador's throat on live broadcast, his talons dripping crimson under the council's light. Around the chamber, alien envoys recoiled in shock, but none interfered. The commander raised the human's lifeless body high and declared, "Behold the fragility of Earth. One life taken like nothing. They are weak, they are prey, they will not answer." The Vrask soldiers laughed. The council stayed silent. The galaxy trembled not for Earth, but for what might follow. The celebration of arrogance. The Vrask rejoiced in their act. Across their empire, the execution was replayed as propaganda. Songs were sung of how humanity had been shamed before the galaxy, reduced to silence with a single cut. Other species nodded in grim agreement. Humans were known for restraint, for diplomacy, for building rather than breaking. Surely they would not risk war over one envoy. Surely Earth, so far from the galactic core, would swallow its grief and continue its quiet existence. In Vrask war courts, soldiers toasted to their victory. Their leaders proclaimed that humanity would never dare mobilize fleets against a seasoned warrior empire. Some mocked Earth as a species of farmers with ships. And across the stars, whispers spread. Perhaps humanity has finally been put in its place. The arrogance of the Vrask grew, the silence of Earth deepened, and in that silence the galaxy mistook patience for weakness. The silence before the storm. Weeks passed, the stars seemed calm. No broadcasts came from Earth. No threats, no declarations, not even diplomatic protests, only stillness. Yet far from the Vrask's sight, across Sol's orbital yards and deep within the void where no eyes could pry, the silence was breaking. Engines stirred, alarms rang in hidden stations, massive drydocks once dormant blazed to life, titans of steel and plasma awoke from their slumber. From the icy moons of Jupiter to the shipyards above Mars, humanity's answer began to take form. Not one fleet, not 10, but hundreds. The largest mobilization in Earth's history rose in silence. Every dreadnought was summoned, every carrier recalled. Entire sectors of industry were turned toward a single purpose: retaliation. The galaxy thought Earth would not respond. The galaxy was wrong. Earth had not been silent in grief. It had been silent in preparation. The first shadows. The Vrask were the first to notice the shift. Their border patrols began vanishing. Long-range outposts ceased communication. Their trade convoys slipped into dark space and never returned. At first, they dismissed it as raids by pirates or rebel species. But then, fragmented reports reached their high command. Sightings of massive, angular ships, human in design, moving with terrifying precision. Impossible, the Vrask generals snarled. Humans do not strike first. But humanity was not striking first. They were answering. And their answer was only beginning. When the sky split, it began with a single broadcast hijacked across Vrask channels. No face appeared, only a voice. Cold, human. One life was taken. One envoy slain. You believed Earth would do nothing. You believed wrong. The message repeated across every Vrask frequency, relentless, chilling. And then the fleets arrived. From the dark between stars they came, sleek black carriers, heavy dreadnoughts bristling with firepower, destroyers flanking like wolves. Warp lanes burned as human ships emerged in coordinated waves, blotting out skies with steel. The Vrask homeworld's night turned to day, lit by the silhouette of 1,000 warships. Panic spread, sirens wailed, entire cities screamed as the horizon filled with the thunder of human retaliation. The storm had come. The fury of Earth. There are wars, and then there is annihilation. The human fleets did not waste words. They struck with clinical precision, targeting shipyards, command hubs, and weapons platforms. Entire Vrask armadas were reduced to drifting wreckage within hours. For every human envoy's drop of blood, oceans of Vrask blood were spilled. Carriers unleashed wave after wave of exosuited soldiers, armored giants who descended like burning meteors. They swept through Vrask strongholds, silent and merciless, their visors glowing with cold light. No quarter was given. Orbital bombardments erased military bastions, their shockwaves flattening landscapes once thought impregnable. The Vrask, who had mocked Earth as farmers with ships, found themselves crushed by an avalanche of firepower so absolute, it seemed less like war and more like divine judgment. Every broadcast of the invasion was carried across the galaxy. Every starfaring race watched as the Vrask Imperium, boastful conquerors, were reduced to ash in weeks. And above it all, the human fleet stood in silence, their banners unraised, their vengeance wordless but deafening. The shattering of the Vrask. The Vrask High Command tried to rally. They summoned fleets from every conquered world, desperate to resist. They promised their people victory, vengeance, survival. But against Earth's storm, their words meant nothing. Entire flotillas of Vrask warships were cornered and destroyed. Their admirals watched in despair as human tactics unfolded with ruthless precision, ambushes within ambushes, feints that became traps, strikes that ended wars in minutes. The Vrask homeworld, once the jewel of their empire, was left burning, its skies blackened by smoke, its seas boiling under orbital fire. Cities crumbled, palaces collapsed, and the once mighty rulers of 1,000 systems realized they were prey. Not to some rival empire, not to some ancient force, but to the humans they had mocked. The whisper that followed. When it was over, silence returned. The human fleets did not stay to gloat. They did not raise flags over Vrask ruins. They simply departed, leaving behind only wreckage, ash, and fear. The galaxy trembled. Messages spread from survivor to survivor, whispered across comms, spoken in hushed tones in council chambers. Do not provoke Earth. Do not test their patience. They answer slowly, but when they do, nothing survives. And so, across the stars, a new law was etched into the minds of every empire, every council, every warlord. One human life is worth more than 1,000 worlds. One envoy slain had unleashed 1,000 warships. And should it ever happen again, humanity would not hesitate to answer with fire enough to silence the galaxy itself. Epilogue: The weight of vengeance. On Earth, no celebrations were held. No parades, no speeches, no songs of triumph. The war was not a victory, it was a message. Elias Kale, the slain ambassador, was laid to rest beneath the skis of his homeworld. His people stood in mourning, silent, remembering. And in that silence, the galaxy understood. Humanity does not kill